Academic writing tips, expressing trend. 1. Verbs to describe trends. A. Upward trend, big changes. Soar. Example, house prices soared a further 20%. Surge. Example, the company's profits have surged. Take off. Example, the shares took off, climbing more than 130%. Skyrocket. Example, the value of their business skyrocketed last year. Escalate. Example, our costs escalated considerably over the next few years. Jump. Example, the cost of building the road has jumped by 70%. Leap. Example, shares in the company leapt 250%. Peak. Example, official figures show that unemployment peaked in June. B. Upward trend, small changes. Increase. Example, they've increased the price of gas by 2 cents a gallon. Rise rose risen. Example, inflation is rising by 2.1% a month. Grow grew grown. Example, the labor force is expected to grow by 2% next year. Climb. Example, our costs have climbed rapidly in the last few years. C. Downward trend, big changes. Slump. Example, car sales have slumped dramatically over the past year. Plunge. Example, the fall in demand caused share prices to plunge. Plummet. Example, first half advertising revenues plummeted 13%, compared with the same period a year ago. Slip. Example, the dollar slipped against the Japanese yen. D. Downward trend, small changes. Decrease. Example, our share of the market has decreased sharply this year. Drop. Example, many companies will drop prices to get your business. Fall fell fallen. Example, average temperatures fell by 10 degrees. Decline. Example, milk production could decline by 15% or more. Slide slid slid. Example, car exports slid by 40% this year. Dip. Example, stock market prices dipped slightly, losing 4 points. Reduce. Example, the company employs 17,900 people, but that number will be reduced by 500 workers. E. Horizontal trend, stabilize. Example, housing prices have stabilized recently. Hold steady. Example, housing prices have held steady. Remain constant. Example, housing prices have remained constant. F. Horizontal trend after changes. Flatten out. Example, the economy hit a peak about a year ago, and now it's flattening. Level off. Example, the jet leveled off at 10,000 feet. Plateau. Example, the economic slowdown has caused our sales to plateau. G. Recover trend. Recover. Example, profits are expected to recover in the current financial year. Bounce back. Example, stock prices bounced back after a steep plunge earlier this week. Rally. Example, the pound rallied against the dollar in trading today. Pick up. Example, the number of applicants will pick up during the autumn. H. Volatile trend. Fluctuate. Example, her wages fluctuate between £150 and £200 a week. Oscillate. The FTSE 100 index closed up 2.4%, having oscillated wildly throughout the week. Vary. Example, the value of stocks will vary from month to month. Swing swung swung. Example, the company swung from record profits last year to huge losses this year. 2. Use different tenses to express trends. Present tense. Tell what the chart is about using the present tense. The time, year, month, is important. State any noticeable trends or features of the chart, for example, an organizational statement. Past tense. Use past tenses if the information shown by the chart is in the past. Future tense. Use future tenses if it's a projection about the future. Present progressive. Present progressive is used to express that the trend is in progress, the change is happening right now. Example, popcorn consumption is rising steadily. Present perfect simple. Present perfect simple is used to express that the trend began in the past and has continued up to now. The focus is on the result of the trend or change in the present. Example, the consumption of popcorn has risen significantly over the last decades. In the example, the change started 10 years ago and has continued until the present. Present perfect progressive. Present perfect progressive is used to express that the trend began in the past and still continues in the present. The focus is on the duration of the trend or change. Example, the consumption of popcorn has been rising steadily since 1919. In the example, the change started 100 years ago, continues in the present, and will probably continue in the near future. Past simple. Past simple is used to express that a trend or change began and ended in the past. Example, The consumption of popcorn rose gradually between 1929 and 1939. 3. Describe trends. The price ground slightly. There's been an upsurge of interest in gold. The market is showing some signs of growth. There's been a dramatic downturn in the market. The share price bottomed out at $115. The market is extremely volatile. Profits will level off at around $1.1 billion. There hasn't been much movement in the price of tin. The Swiss franc is staging a recovery. Sugar peaked at $400 a ton. Sales hit an all-time low. The pound slipped back against the dollar. 4. Use of prepositions. An increase of percent. Example, Canada's working age population showed, experienced an increase, a rise, a growth of 5% between 1960 and 1990. A percent increase in. Example, there was a 5% increase, rise, growth in Canada's working age population between 1960 and 1990. Increase from, to. Example, Canada's working age population increased from 65% to 70% between 1960 and 1990. CO2 emissions per person in Canada decreased, fell, dropped, declined, were reduced, dipped from just over 10 tons to around 7 tons between 1985 to 1995. Increase by, example, Canada's working age population increased by 5% between 1960 and 1990. CO2 release in Canada is forecasted to drop to around 8.5 tons by 2025. Peak at, example, the figure for the 11 p.m. news leapt at 4.1 million in August. The figure for the 11 p.m. news reached its highest point at 4.1 million in August. Reach a peak of, example, the figure for the 11 p.m. news reached a peak of 4.1 million in August. 5. Use phrases to identify patterns, trends and outstanding findings, after topic sentences. What immediately stands out from the chart is that. It is easy to see that. It is apparent that. It shows a downward trend, a downward trajectory, an upward trajectory. It shows some fluctuation. It reached a plateau, reached the highest point, reached the lowest point. Example, the bar chart shows events that occurred or were expected to occur in Vancouverites' lives in 2009 and 2010. It is apparent that home renovation was the most frequent event in both years. Also, in 2010, all events were more frequent, compared to the previous year.